Hello, it's Theresa. Welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you're here. Today's video includes a requested tutorial to show you how to do some of the add-ons I've come up with for Maymay's 3-page wonder folio. The paper collection I'm using today comes from Carta, and it's called Sunflower Market, and it's so cute. I love the colors in this one. None of the add-ons that I'm showing you today require any special dies or anything, but I did use a die set to embellish mine, and it's this one. This is from Anna Griffin, and it's called Halloween Embellishment Die Set. And I used just the top portion of this gate. To decorate my folio, I used these beautiful little sunflowers. These came from Hobby Lobby. I used some of these Hunkydory glitter diamond sparkles. This is the amber set. I also used some of these glitter jewel border dazzles from hot off the press. I used these 2 ribbons. I distressed all of the edges of my paper with this vintage photo distress Oxide ink. And I used this opaque pigment pure white Spectrum Noir Harmony ink to create a kind of whitewashed look on my gate piece. Also completely optional, I did use this tab punch. This is from We Are Memory Keepers. Many of these items I already had in my stash, but if I can find them, I'll link them in the description box below. Let's check out the project. So this is my folio. I think it turned out just adorable. And I've already started a second folio using the same paper collection because these collections are perfect to make 2 folios of this size and style. Now, as you can see, this is an add-on and it's magnetized. Opens like this, so room for a photo. I chose to use a 3x4 cut apart on this, but you could also put a photo there instead. And then you would open up this flap. You can close this and then open, and so it's not flopping around or in the way. It magnetizes. So then we come to the inside. We have just our standard folio over here. I'm working on add-on ideas for this too, but for today, we are going to also cover this add-on, which is also magnetized and gives us room for 2 more photos. These are perfect for 3x4 photos. And then in behind, we've got this little booklet. This gives us room for 3 more, even 4 more if you didn't want to use the cut apart on the front, 4x6 photos. So you've got the 2 on the inside and 1 on the back. And then I've also included this mini Slimline envelope, which I've decorated with just scraps and a cut apart from the collection. And this is perfect to put extra cut aparts, scrap pieces of paper, and stickers from the collection to give the recipient something to decorate their folio with. Now, I did not do a tutorial for this mini Slimline envelope in today's video because I've already done a separate tutorial for that, so I'll link that in the description box below. Now for the tutorial. The first thing we're going to make is just a little booklet that we can put inside of our pocket to give us more room for 4x6 photos. So to do that, you're going to need a piece of cardstock. I'm using 110 pound weight, but you could use 65 pound. And we're going to cut that to 8.5 by 6 1/4. So since it's already 8.5 inches wide, I just need to cut it down to 6 1/4. With the 8.5 inch side at the top, we're going to score in half at 4 1/4. Now we're just going to fold and burnish with our bone folder. I like to flip it over and do it on both sides to make it nice and flat. Next, I'm just going to take a cut apart from the collection and glue it right on top. So that's our first add-on. It gives us space for 1, 2, and if you use the back, 3 more photos, or if you don't choose to use a cut apart on the front, you could place a photo on the front as well. And because of the dimensions of this, it's going to leave a nice black border if you do place a 4x6 photo on it. So we're just going to go ahead and tuck that right in here. Next, we're going to work on the piece that goes right here. Now this piece can be variable in size, but the size I'm going to show you will accommodate a 3x4 cut apart, which is perfect for the front decoration and a good size for photos. I have an 8.5 by 11 inch piece of 110-pound cardstock, and I'm going to cut that at 4 1/4 by 6.5. With the 6.5 inch side at the top, I'm going to score at 3 1/4. Fold and burnish your score. Now this is the time that you're going to want to choose how you decorate it. So if you have a 3x4 cut apart, that's perfect. Leaves a nice black border or whatever color cardstock you're using. Now I am using a 3x4 cut apart from the collection, but because I wanted to include this border, I did cut my base piece just a little bit larger, but the process is the same. So I have my little booklet piece, and I have my cut apart decoration for the top, but I'm not going to glue it on yet. First, I want to secure it to the base of my folio. Now I like to measure and find my halfway point, both on my folio and on the piece that I'm gluing on top of it. And that way I can just line up these 2 pencil marks so that I know that I'm in the center. You don't have to put it in the center, that's just what I prefer. And then I just erase that little pencil mark when I'm done. But before I glue it down, I want to put a magnet on this back piece. And so I have indicated on here to remind myself with an M, with a circle, that I need to put a magnet. And it just has to be someplace that the magnet is going to be covered completely by the piece that you're placing on top. It doesn't have to be exactly where I'm putting it. You just want to make sure it's on this pocket portion and that it's going to be covered by this piece. The magnets I'm using are 8mm by 1mm, so they're very thin and tiny. Just going to take one, place it on my project. Then I like to secure it down with a little bit of Scor-Tape. Burnish the tape down, make sure that it's got good adhesion. Next, I'm going to take the backing off of my Scor-Tape. I'm going to glue this piece down, making sure that my fold is at the left. And again, I'm going to line up my pencil marks so that I know that I'm getting it on straight. And I also want to be mindful of where I place my glue. I don't want to go over this point because this part is going to hang over the pocket. Now you can just place your glue right here, but it's kind of hard to know where this is stopping and starting. So I prefer to place my glue on the back of this. And we're just going to line up those pencil marks, go all the way to the edge. Just make sure you're flush with that edge. You can open this up, make sure that you've got a good adhesion. Next, we're going to close this, and we're going to take another magnet, and we're just going to let it fall right on top, and it will find the other magnet. And we're going to, again, secure that down with some Scor-Tape. Next, take off the tape backing and add glue to the back of your cut apart. Place it down, leaving an even border all the way around. And if you're using a tab, this would be the time to secure it. I made this little tab with my tab punch that I showed you earlier. I just put a little eyelet on it and a little ribbon. And I'm just going to glue that right here. Now you have not only a decorative element, but another place to put photos. Next, I'm going to show you an add-on that I came up with for the cover. This add-on is perfect if you want to use some of those larger 4x4 cut-aparts that are just a little bit too big to put on the folio as is. What I'm going to show you is a way to do that and create more room for photos. I'm using 110-pound cardstock for this as well. I'm just using a scrap, but the piece that you're going to need will need to measure 4.5 by 7 7/8. With the 7 7/8 side up at the top, we're going to score at 4.5. Fold and burnish your score. Next, I want to show you how I placed my magnets on my flap. I used the 8 by 1 millimeter magnets, and I placed one at the top, one at the bottom, and one in the center. And the one in the center, I placed a little bit closer to the edge of the flap than the others. Now, this is kind of important. You want to still be able to cover it with your decorative paper, so you don't want to get it over too far to the edge. But you'll see in a minute that that is important to the placement of the add-on piece. So now that I've shown you the magnet placement, I'm just going to go ahead and stick down my decorative paper. Next, we're going to close our flap. We're going to grab the piece that we cut like this, and you're going to figure out how you want to decorate this piece. Now, if you're using a 4x4 cut apart, it's going to have kind of a wide border on it, and that's to give you the opportunity to put a mat behind it. In the interest of time, I've already decorated my piece, so I'll pull that in and show you what it looks like. Now this is where I used that die, and I just used this top portion of it. Just cut it off. I actually did some inking on it, and I drop shadowed it and glued it onto the top of my piece. I popped my 4x4 up on a little bit of chipboard to give it some dimension. Use some of those flowers that I showed you and ribbon and just a few embellishments. So we're just going to take a look and we're going to try to figure out where we want to place this. Now, if you don't have this top portion on, you can choose to put it more up toward the top. You can center it more toward the bottom. It's completely up to you. I'm thinking I want mine right about here. So with that in mind, what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue it, just putting glue on the back of this piece. So I'm only putting glue on the back of the smaller piece. I'm going to position this on with it open like this so that I make sure that it does not go under my flap. I want it to be near the flap, but not under it. So something, actually I want that down a little bit, something about like this. And I'm going to open this back up and again, make sure that I'm not underneath the flap. I think that looks good. So I'm just going to give this, open that up and make sure that it's all adhered down. Okay, so next I'm going to open this and I'm going to close the flap. Then I'm going to take another one of my 8x1mm magnets and I'm going to just let it find itself on that magnet that we put closest to the edge on the flap. I'm going to take some Scor-Tape, cut a piece about like that, and I'm going to turn it over with the sticky side up. And I'm going to pick up my magnet, making sure to keep the orientation the same, and I'm going to stick it on top of the tape. And I'm going to put it right back down where it was, with this, again, with the sticky side up. Next, I'm going to close this portion, and I'm going to press down around that magnet and try to get it to stick to the back of my piece. And it did. So now I'm simply just going to press that down, make sure that it's nice and secure. To cover your magnet, you're going to want a piece of lightweight cardstock that is 4.5 inches tall by 4 7/16 inches wide. And you want it to be just that little bit shorter so that it doesn't impede on your score line. Remove your tape backing and add glue to the back of your piece. You're just going to line it up with the edge. And stick it down. Now I chose to use a cut apart to decorate this portion, but you can leave that open for a photo, and obviously you've got room for a photo right here. And when you close it, it magnetizes to that magnet on the flap. So it keeps it nice and closed, and it gives you the opportunity to use one of those larger cut apart elements to decorate the front of your folio. Now, the reason that I did not make this 4.5 inches wide is because I didn't want that bulk underneath this flat portion, because there are magnets right here that this is adhering to, and I didn't want the bulk there. So that's why I chose to keep this away from that flap. So to close it, you simply close the flap and then close that top add-on portion. I hope that you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please remember to like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Also, click the notification bell so that you'll be notified the next time I upload a video. Until then, bye!